Our I can statement for today is I can explain the difference between 0 divided by a number and a number divided by 0. To start us off, we're going to review the relationship between multiplication and division. So for problem number 1, you're going to take the division problem and turn it into a multiplication problem. So, what number times what other number gives us a third number, using the 3 numbers we see in the division sentence. Then for number 2, you're going to do the same thing, but this time you're going to start with a multiplication problem and you're going to turn it into a division problem. So you're going to use those same 3 numbers and you're going to fill them into the 3 blanks on the screen. So take a moment and answer the question yourself in your head. I will tell you that there are multiple different answers for each of these 2 questions. So yours might be different but similar to the one that I give. All right. So one way that we could have changed the first problem into a multiplication problem is writing the number sentence -4 times 8 equals -32. Okay? To turn the multiplication problem into a division problem, we could have written -63 divided by -9 gives us 7. Okay, now I want to point out for the first example, you could have written the problem 8 times -4 equals -32. For the second problem, you could have written -63 divided by 7 equals -9. So there are multiple ways of writing the problem, but I want to point out a pattern that I noticed. All I had to do was switch these 2 numbers or these 2 numbers and then change the operation to get my new number sentence. Okay? And we're going to use this pattern to help us figure out what happens when we have division problems that involve zeros. So you can take a moment to do a quick write. What pattern do we notice from those 2 previous examples? All right. So I have a division problem. 12 divided by 0 equals some number. Okay, we want to know what that number is. Now, we could rewrite this as a multiplication sentence by switching these 2 numbers. And that's what I have right over here. Okay, so some number times 0 equals 12. So the question asks, what number would make this pattern true? So you can think for yourself, what number would make this pattern true? Now, you might be remembering, we have this rule that we learned in elementary school that anything times 0 is always 0. So this 12 really has to be a 0 for there to be any number that we could put in for the question mark. So what we're going to call this is undefined. There is no defined number that can make either of these number sentences true. So the rule we discovered is that any number divided by 0 is undefined. So take a moment to write that down in your notes. Any number divided by 0 is undefined. A trick to help you to remember this is, remember, if we write a division sentence as a fraction, when the 0 is under the division bar, it is undefined. Okay? So if it's under the division bar, it is undefined. So try some examples on your own. What is 21 divided by 0? What is 45 divided by 0? And what is 2.3 divided by 0? Pause the video if you need a moment. All right, the correct answers are, you guessed it, all 3 answers are undefined. Now let's take a look at the opposite situation. If we have 0 divided by a number. So the question is, what number would make this pattern true? So remember, I am starting out by switching these two numbers, changing it to multiplication. So I get, what number times 12 equals 0? So think to yourself, what number times 12 equals 0? If you said 0, you're correct. So the rule we discovered is 0 divided by any number is 0. And if we take a look back at that multiplication number sentence, it makes sense because we know that rule that 0 times any number has to equal 0. So if 0 is in the answer, we've got to have 0 in the product somewhere. And so that's our missing number. Okay, the trick to help you to remember this is that when the 0 is over the division bar, the answer is 0. And think about the shape of your mouth when you say the word 0. It ends with an O, so O over 0. So let's try some examples. What is 0 divided by 4.5? What is 0 divided by 7? And what is 0 divided by 0.9? If you said that all three responses were the number 0, you are correct. Know that it would also be acceptable on a quiz or a test to write out the word 0. So either of those two responses are equivalent. That's it for our lesson today. Remember that you can review, you can watch it as many times as you need to, pause when you need to make sure you got it. And don't forget to check out the practice homework for more practice problems.